Good morning, everybody watching from the internet. Good morning, all of you who came to join us today. It's always a blessing for me to come here and share this moment with you guys and share with those on the internet. So today we're going to have a presentation, a lecture about suicide, its reasons and consequences. So before we start, I'm going to do a reading from Happy Life, a book from the spirit Joana de Angelis and Divaldo Pereira Franco. So this book is very small, as each page is one different message, but it's very powerful. I'm going to pick one at random. Where you work, you may discover those who conspire against your peace. The world is an enlarged arena, and the unprepared, instead of loving each other, take up arms against each other. In some circumstances, they become unconscious wild animals who only react and take positions inconsistent with their humanity in an attempt to take others' places, knock them down, and see them suffer. Nobody can take what is yours. No libel will obscure your merits. Act correctly, then, and be calm. So let's relax our bodies, free our minds from our worries of the outside, and concentrate on this moment of study. This moment when we receive the blessings of Jesus, our Master, our Guide, the mentors of this house, and God. Let us open our hearts to these fluids that involve us, bring us relaxation, peace, and calm. And let's ask our mentors to help us, to inspire us in the deliverance and the absorption of the teachings from the lecture today. Thank you, and so be it. All right, guys, so suicide, it's one of the topics that we talk about every year, sometimes more than once, sometimes several times in a year, because it's a very important topic. And to the known history, there has never been a point where suicide has been so common as it is today in all ages. All ages. The numbers are very high, and it's kind of scary how many people are choosing that so-called exit that doesn't really exist. So there are several ways to address this topic. We can talk about the nature of the connection between the spirit and the body. We can talk about all the consequences and examples of suicide. But that's not the main cause of suicide. The cause that brings suicide, it's lack of vision. It's related to a point of view. It's not the pain, it's the point of view that you have about your life when you're going through that pain. And this is what I want to talk a little bit about today, so that we can try to change this lens to see from the point of view of the spirit. and God. So we can start by looking at our lives, and we can now realize that none of us live without difficulties. We all go through difficulties in life. We all have situations where that we can remember that we felt some kind of pain, either spiritual pain, moral pain, or literally body pain, physical pain. We all have this. If it's not pain, it's difficulties, worries. It could be you pay all your debts, you get your paycheck, and then you receive on the mail a letter from CRA that, oh yeah, we reassessed, and then you're gonna have to pay this much. Yeah, okay, it's not a very big deal, but it's something. Okay, it's a pinprick in your mind, so it's another thing in your mind. Or it could be something related to your career or the lack of it, or something related to your family. You have a family member that has been going through a difficult situation, and it has been aggressive to everybody else. And you can't just not feel bothered by that. So we all have difficulties, all of us here. Could be a health issue that you have. It doesn't matter how small, it's an issue, you have to treat it. Or mental health issue. You feel sad and you don't even know why. You have depression or a bipolar disorder. So this is the state that we are. We all go through that, and we are feeling that. And the truth is, we can't remain happy. We can't. Happiness in our situation, it's made of moments, small periods of happiness that we have in our life. And I'm not talking about joy, I'm not talking about laughter, I'm talking about that feeling of lightness, that you feel light, you feel happy, that you have no worries, you're floating. That's it doesn't matter if you're laughing or not. It's that feeling, you all know what I mean. It's a feeling of perfect happiness. We can't maintain that. It comes and goes. And I'm not saying that to make you guys sad. I'm just saying that this is the state that we are right now. It's not right or wrong. It's where we are. It's not going to be like that forever. And I explain why. So in the moments that we experience happiness are the moments that we connect to our spiritual nature. It could be, it shows us this is the right way to go. Because every time I do this, I experience this happiness. So it shows us the path ahead, the path to follow. We can feel that when we have conversation with sympathetic spirits. We all sit down together and we exchange ideas, and we feel we feed from each other's energy, like a dinner party, or we receive guests, or we go to visit friends, and we feel that makes us feel better. As we communicate as spirits, we feed from each other's love. So then we feel happy. And that is very important. And it shows us that that is the way to go. It's to communicate, to make friends, to share love. And that makes us feel happy. Spending time with loved ones, even if you're not saying anything, you're just walking around holding hands, or love. When we open our hearts to love, to friendship, to family, is when we feel that happiness. The problem is that we close it. We close it as soon as we think about work, or something comes to our minds, and we start getting worried. Or we remember something that happened in the past. Someone told me something that I didn't like, and we feel mad and we feel angry. It's in the past. It already happened, but we let that in, and that takes away the happiness that was fulfilling us. So we can maintain. It's an exercise for us to try to maintain that happiness. Another thing is going to so we are blessed by living in this beautiful country. It is a beautiful country. So you can drive 1 hour in any direction and you see beautiful landscapes. So you go there and you see all that nature, and so many things had to go in the right way for that lake to be there, for those trees to be there, for that shade of green. Or now we are going to fall, all those colors. So looking and really being at that moment and understanding creation, it brings us also that happiness. So all those small periods of happiness tell us this is the right thing. This is where you should go. Or when you work hard and you see your creation, you build a fence, or you fix something in your house, or you fix your car, or you do something at work, and then you look at your creation and you feel duty fulfilled. And this is all this are the attributes of the Spirit: connection with God, love, work. So this is the attributes of the Spirit that tells us where to go. But because of our uncontrolled feelings, for some reason we forget all that and we start complaining. We complain that we don't have all the material things that we wanted to have. And we complain about something that happened at work. We complain about our jobs. We just don't let go of hard feelings with people. We just don't forgive. We don't know how to forgive yet. And all that, it removes us from that state of happiness. Yeah, and then at the moment that you complain about something, so everything is working fine, everything is perfect, you are, I don't know, in a camping trip, and then you hit a rock, and then you complain about the rock. Okay, that's it. You're not happy anymore. So that's our exercise. That's our current state. And if you want to know if you are on that state, I'm gonna ask a very, it seems ridiculous question, but actually it's not. Can you go to Mars right now? I don't mean taking a rocket to escape velocity of our gravitational field. Can you just fly and go to Mars? Of course not. What kind of question is that? Well, there's a reason why I'm asking that. Happy spirits, they are not bound to the gravitational field of our planet. They are not bound. They can't do it. So if you can't, you're not a happy spirit yet. I'll let that sink in. So what bounds us, what connects us to this rock, to this planet, is the fact that we cannot maintain our happiness, is the fact that we pollute our happiness with worries and complaints. But what is the cause of that? It's just the fact that we don't trust God enough. We don't trust God enough. And when I say God, I'm using 3 letters to represent a supreme intelligence, a main force that causes creation, that pushes creations into existence, and pushes life into existence and constant progress. So whatever that is, which we don't know yet. In the Spirit's book, they mention infinite several times because they use the word infinite as a code to explain that you can't figure that out yet. In the same way that you cannot imagine in your head a figure, a solid that is more than 3 dimensions. You can't. You can imagine a cube, which is 3. But if I put a 4th there, you can't. The same thing with if I tell you to imagine a color that is not in the rainbow. You can't. That's our state. So that's why the spirits, they tell us that God is infinite. We can't figure that out yet. So when I say God, I mean something much more than those 3 letters. But the spirits, they're really happy. They trust completely, and they live in constant connection with God. That's why they don't have to worry about gravity anymore. And that's why I make that question. And then, in order for us in this exercise, we understand that we can maintain our happiness, that you feel worried, and then the amount of those worriness that you have in your life, they create that like a heavy burden. You don't even know that it's there, but you know that there's something wrong. And then you come here to Spiritism. And I can tell you that Spiritism cannot make you happy. Can't. That's not the goal. No one and nothing can make us happy but ourselves. I'm not saying this just for you guys to lose hope. It's just that it's about our own work. What is it that Spiritism can do for us? Bring consolation. It's different than bringing happiness. Happiness, it's your road to carve. Sometimes you see the road in front of you and you can follow. Other times you have to carve the road yourself. Spiritism brings consolation. It doesn't take away your pain. It's that situation where you hear something and it gives you a ground to stand on. It gives you solid ground, and you finally understand what you're going through. You understand why. The pain is still there. It was not removed, but now you have the strength to go through it, to overcome it, to learn from it. That's the consolation that Spiritism can give you. But the rest of the work, it's ours. It's for us to develop. We have to take it from there. We have to continue studying and continue learning from our own actions so that we can finally feel happy and we can finally understand what we are doing wrong. The pain, it's an effect of love. Pain comes from love. How can pain come from love? God doesn't want us to feel pain. God doesn't want us to suffer. But He would not let us go astray. God will never allow us to get lost. No sheep will be lost. So God created this mechanism that whenever you are going astray, it hurts. So the pain, it's an effect of God's love, telling you this is your weakness and this is where you have to work. If you run, 10 kilometers without being prepared, and then in the next day you feel pain, God created the mechanism that made this body be possible. So we have muscles, we have joints. God created gravity. But I'm the one who ran 10 kilometers. I'm the one who did the run. So then the next day I wake up, I cannot walk, I feel pain in my knees. It's God didn't want me to feel all that pain in my knees. It was me. So that is the mechanism that God created to tell me, yeah, maybe next time you run just 2 kilometers. It's for me to learn from the pain and not complain. I wake up and complain, my knees, I'm old. No, that's your decision. Learn from it. Learn and adapt. Try to solve it. Take an Uber next time. Find a different solution for the problem. I remember one, if you guys allow me to say, one of my consolations of Spiritism, personal consolations. I was born in a family of very stern people. My dad is a very stern guy, and he used to yell at me because I was not aggressive enough in life, as I was that guy that was always talking about science in school, and so I was bullied. And my dad wanted me to be very aggressive, and I just didn't feel that aggressive in me. I wasn't that person. And that was always in my mind, saying, oh, maybe I should try, I should be like everybody else. Not everybody else, but like the majority of people that I would see. Until I really understood what Jesus meant by blessed are the meek, for they will inherit earth. So it didn't take my pain away. It didn't take the memories of the past or everything that I was feeling, but at that moment I saw that I was not wrong. I was not wrong for not wanting to be aggressive. And that brought me consolation. The pain and all the effects that from the situations that I went through was mine to work on. I had to work on that. But from that moment on, I had a very solid ground to stand on. And I overcame it. So now I'm okay. So that's what Spiritism can do for us, is to help us. Why is it hurting? Is it to tell us why is it hurting? And then we can work on that pain. But this is not all that Spiritism can do for us. It can show us, it can broaden our view, can teach us to see from the point of view of the spirit. If we talk about, so we have been talking about pain, and it's a mechanism of love that God creates so that we can grow, so that we can see our weaknesses. But why? It goes goes way beyond that. When we describe God, or when Kardec made the first question in Spirit's book, what is God? And then the answer is supreme intelligence, the first cause of all things, all creation. So if that's true, would God want us to be stuck in a tiny rock that is orbiting a small star in a corner of a spiral galaxy somewhere in the universe? If God is the supreme intelligence, would he have created us to stay there, to stay our own all our existence in that tiny rock? When we have Hubble, we have James Webb telescope, and we see out there are distances that we can't. The only way for us to have an idea is to measure by the speed of light years, and even that way it's nothing. We have rays of light that have been traveling, reaching us, and that they have been traveling for 13 billion years. So what is this distance? What is this creation that we cannot even understand its size? Does God wants us to be stuck in this little tiny planet? Is that supreme intelligence? It isn't. It isn't. God wants us to experience the whole universe, to be able to go out there, to see all the marvelous planets and the galaxies. And that's why there is pain. Because the pain tells us when there is something that is preventing us to reach that point where we'll be able to experience creation in its whole. When we talk about Jesus, whatever the name of the Spirit is, and on the way to the light, Emmanuel tells us that the spirits, well, when our planet was being formed, the spirits that are responsible for this life here, this planet, they got together in a meeting close to the sun. Where was that? Was that in a specific planet? Was that there were no actually many planets at that time. Was it in an office, in a company? Or, no, it was in space. They don't need to be bound like us. So these spirits, they go all over the universe. So imagine this. I want to pray to God, or I want to pray to a spirit. If this spirit is in the nearest star, is in a planet close to the nearest star, Delta, I forgot the name of the star, it will take 70 years. So if our thought, if our prayer goes at the speed of light, it will take 70 years to get there and another 70 to come back. But does that make sense? It doesn't. It doesn't. So this is us, our own view. The spiritual view is much wider than that. God wants us to be free of all this. So when you see people who are commanders or generals, that they control things by force, and they think they are very big, they are creating shackles after shackles that they will have to break one by one through pain. So the spirit is meant to be free. Why am I saying all that? Because if God wants us to be happy and to be free, and he creates the mechanism that will force us, that make it, that whenever we go beyond this path of evolution that is going to take us to our destiny of being perfect and happy spirits, we suffer. We suffer. And then because of the suffering, we commit suicide. So I wanted to create this background so that you guys understand that suicide makes no sense at all. First, we are immortal spirits. We have several existences, but we have one life, and this life is eternal. So you cannot kill yourself. It's impossible. Suicide is like jumping out of a car. So you are in a car at high speed, and you don't like where the car is going, and you don't even want to control it. You just want to jump out of the car, but you forget that the seat belt, it's only disconnected when the car stops. So you jump out of the car, but you still have the seat belt on. So the situation is much worse. You half in, half out, dragging your arms on the road. It's terrible. That's suicide. Suicide only makes things worse. And we are telling God that all this plan that he created for us to be free, for us to be happy, we are just saying, no, I don't want that anymore. I'm giving up. So there's no give up. What are you going to do? So you are following on a path, and then you commit suicide. So then you take a huge deviation of that path. So that first point where you were is going to be, it's recorded. It's recorded in the universe. So you have now to go all the way back through several incarnations to clean your act, and then you're going to come back to the same point and continue your journey. So it's nothing is going to, you can only make it worse, as you're going to have to take whatever you dropped on the floor, you drop your load, your cross, you're going to have to come back and pick it up again. Instead of 10 reincarnations, now it's going to take maybe 100. There's an example in Heaven and Hell, the chapter Suicides, where a mom had her child sick, and her child passes away at home. And they exchange words. I forgot what was the phrase that the son said, but it was a very young kid. And the mom immediately went to the next room and killed herself to be reunited with her son. And in the Parisian society of the time, Kardec and the other members, they asked their mentor, their spiritual mentor, if they could evocate the spirit of the son and the mom. Most of the time, the spirit was St. Louis. And the spirit said, okay, it will be hard, but okay, you can evocate them. So then Kardec first, he evoked the spirit of the son. And the son came. He was in a better place. He was in a good place. And he said, the only thing that makes me sad is that my mom is now in a place that I cannot follow. I cannot contact her because she committed suicide. And that's what makes me sad. And then they evoked the mom, the spirit of the mom, that was only able to communicate through help of other spirits. And she was completely rebellious. What God is that makes me, separates me from my son? And then the mentors told her that it was not God, that was you. That was you. Had you stayed in the flesh as you were supposed to, you would have lived a few more years, and then you would have been reunited with your family, with your son. Now, he's here, but you cannot see him because of the darkness that you have around you, that you created for your rebellious, you're rebellious towards God. So what happens is that the spirit of the mom now will have to fix all that she did by killing her own body. She'll have to reincarnate a few times, because when you do that, the perispirit gets severely damaged. So then you have to reincarnate, come to the flesh a few times so that you can rebuild your perispirit. And then you can come back to your path and continue following. So this is what happened. If we just don't trust that whatever happens to our life, to the state that we are now, it's meant to free us. It's out of love. Whatever difficulty that you're going through, it's a purification process. It's teaching us what is it that we need to reinforce, that we need to study and learn about ourselves. Most of it comes just out of selfishness and pride. Sometimes we worry so much about things that are not that important if you let go of your ego. But that, it's so difficult. so hard. But the pain keeps reminding us that we have to let go until one day we will let go. And the thing is that we are all here today to share these same difficulties. We all here go through these difficulties. So you are all welcome to come here so that we can share. So if you share that with other people, we are able to feed each other. We exchange energies. We feel better. That's why it's always better to talk to a friend about a problem, and then it seems that the problem gets lighter. So come. Now we are with open doors, so you can come here. We have fraternal meetings, fraternal assistance, pass. So that's why God allows for these places to happen. It doesn't have to be a spiritual center. It could be any temple that is devoted to religion, to love. So you can talk to any one of us, and then you can ask, but why talking to you? Why would you be special? We are not. We are not. Anyone who comes here and talks about spiritism is just another person that is following the same road with the same difficulties, sometimes more, sometimes less. The difference is we may have a compass. We may have found a compass. So we are following the compass. So that's the main difference. We're not better or worse. We're just holding a compass. And we can show you how you can find your own compass it's inside of us. We have that compass, but I don't know, it's lost somewhere. And then when we lose ourselves, hopefully you guys will be around and it will show us the way. So it's not about being special. It's about partnership. It's about following the road together instead of alone. That is why it's important to come, to share, to receive the blessings of our mentors and go home with a little bit more hope. And hopefully in one of those moments of happiness. And remember that coming here brings you to that state of happiness. And sometimes all we need is it's a few words. We don't need much. Or sometimes all we need is to sit down and listen. Sometimes just to talk. But suicide or giving up is it's like when you are on a very hot day in the desert or on a road and you see in the distance the heat field, the heat waves reflecting the sky to your eyes, and you think, oh, there's water there. There's water. I'm going to run. There's water there. It's just a reflection of the sky on heat waves. That the light of the sky refracts from that surface and comes to your eye, and then you think, oh, this looks like water. That's suicide. It's an illusion. You can't do it. You can't. Don't test it. Don't test it. It's just don't give up. Don't give up. Just remember that we are all going through difficulties. If you cannot go to Mars right now, if you cannot fly to Mars right now, you are going through difficulties and something hurts. It's very easy. So when we are all here together, that's what we do. We share. So in study groups or in any moment that we have, we share all this so that we can go home all re-energized to restart our week. A blessed chance to have another week, to have another day. Even if it's for us to feel pain, it's another chance for us to work on ourselves, to improve ourselves, to get better. And we have to wake up every day glad that we have that day and go through it. To our head held up high, not curved. We take it. We don't give up. That's why we are here. And that's why we learn Spiritism. And that's why we trust God and His love. Thank you, guys. That's what I wanted to bring today. So now it's the moment to see if there's any question from anybody on the internet. No? Questions from you guys? No questions? You're all satisfied? I'm thinking. Yeah.
Why some mediums, they commit suicide if they know better than a normal person? They can communicate with spirits. But why there's so much suicidal in between them?
Mediums are those who have an increased sensibility towards the spiritual world. It's not something that happens only on good people, or let's say it can happen to everybody. It's a faculty that we receive that comes with the body. And for a person that has that kind of sensibility, the attention needs to be doubled, because it's also easier for spirits to get in contact, for ignorant spirits to communicate and to attach to that person. That's why when we mediumship groups, the first year or the first 2 years, there's no communication. It's just study, because it's not easy. It's you need to maintain your attention on yourself. I can tell you that to me, my mediumship is weak, but it's there. Even the type of book I read, it influences me. Sometimes I like to read different. I read every night, and sometimes I have to just stop and pick whatever book from Emmanuel, from André Luiz, just because I feel the company that is coming to me every night. So what I mean is, just because we are mediums, it doesn't mean that our will is that strong. So we might get depressed, and in our depression we get blind. We don't see anything anymore. So we know about spiritism, we know about the life after death and the perispirit, but we don't actually know. So we don't feel it. We have the knowledge, but that our heart is still young, immature. That knowledge did not make our faith strong yet. So in those situations, and then we have mediums that do commit suicide. In that moment, they are not thinking. Even with all that knowledge, because when we go through a very traumatic situation, the knowledge it disappears. All that maintains us, it's the faith. So that knowledge, it has to make us stronger. It has to make us better people. So if someone here comes to crying and desperate, trying to find a solution for their pain, and then sit down, I'm going to explain to you why quantum mechanics has a parallel with the way the mechanism that our thought works. It makes no sense. That doesn't bring consolation. That's for another moment. When you are okay, and you want to develop and know a little bit more, then okay, then we talk about whatever you want. But at that moment, what the person needs is consolation. And that comes from whatever you learn in Spiritism and makes you stronger, your spirit stronger. Because at that moment, it seems that all logic is just, it disappears. You can't think straight. So that's why mediums are more susceptible, because they have an open channel. So that's why it's so important to train. And we have so many books in the library about training to be a medium. And the first book ever written, the first manual, it's here, the Medium's book. That's why Kardec wrote it, because he wanted mediums to be trained, and he talks about it. Why it's so common for mediums to be obsessed, and in that obsession, the weakness of their hearts, that could be any one of us, allows for a deep state of depression that will take them to suicide. But the decision is theirs. It's not God forcing them or allowing a spirit. They allow that to happen. So unfortunately, that happens and has been happening now more than ever. And it's important for us to change our perspective and think about that perspective every day, so that when a situation happens and we feel that pain that is going to blind us, that perspective is going to prevent us from getting desperate. We will feel the pain, and we'll get very sad. If you need to cry, you cry, but you don't get desperate and rebellious, because you know that there's a purpose for that. In all that darkness of pain, you see a small light that keeps you going in that direction. So that's the importance of the consolation that Spiritism brings us. We can feel pain, we all feel it, but suicide, it's never an option, never. Yes.
Comment.
Yeah.
For me, the Spiritism, what has taught me and what I'm learning every day, it is transformation to know myself better through the studies, through the lectures, and please give me the tools to go through the situations, the pain with more equilibrium,
Mm-hmm.
and learn how to, to deal with all the situations. But it's work. It's every day.
Yeah.
It's not only, oh, I'm a spiritist, come to the here once a week. No, it's every day to pray, to watch. It's all the time. And for
Yeah.
me, it's the reflections that I do. That is to know myself, my inner self. That helps a lot. That's what I see, the beauty of the doctrine.
Agreed. It's Spiritism. It's only useful if you apply it. And we apply it every day, and then we see that, hey, I pray today, and I feel a little better, right? So that's a step in the right direction. That's why we come back. Yes.
I think it's important also to note that the definition of suicide in Spiritism is broader than what we typically think. So we think of suicide as somebody going out there, jumping from a bridge, shooting themselves, taking drugs. That's fine. That is suicide. And there's about 4,000 of these every year with Canada. And it has been growing slowly. But there's also many other types of deaths that are not recorded as suicides officially, but for Spiritism, it's still the same concept. So for example, assisted death, right? People that use doctors to shorten their lives, either because they're in the final stage of a disease, or because they're in the beginning of a very difficult disease. They might choose to use a doctor to kill themselves. That is suicide for Spiritism. It's not recorded in Canada as suicide. And now they're making changes to the law that will allow that you don't have to have you don't have to be terminally ill to request assisted suicide. As long as there is in your head something that you don't want, you can ask to be a suicide by doctor. And there are other more kind of unexpected cases of suicide. So for example, if you're an adrenaline junk, consistently risking your life for the thrill, and you end up killing yourself, in Spiritism, that is suicide. Because that's not why you're here. That's not the purpose. You're not evolving anything. You're just, it's like a drug. Adrenaline is a drug. Or it acts like a drug in your body. So you're hooked on it, and you keep going until you kill yourself. If you're in a vice, some substance abuse, and you keep going until that kills you, it's also suicide in terms of the spirit. And we see this clearly in the book Nosso Lar. When André Luiz finds himself on the other side, and it takes a while for him to realize that he was dead, that's fine. But then his biggest surprise is that he is among the suicides. And he didn't commit suicide. He had cancer or some other disease that killed him. And later he will find out that it was his choices in terms of his lifestyle that was very unhealthy, that destroyed his body and caused him to die. So in Spiritism, in God's view, you killed yourself too early. You are meant to be a longer life. So in some ways, we're all doing a little bit, because nobody is perfect. We're all doing things that are not necessarily good for us. But they're different, like everything in God's accounting, there's different levels, right? Different accountability in terms of how you need to kind of atone for that fact, right? So your next life, if you were very unhealthy in one life, you would learn that, yeah, I better be healthier in the next life, because otherwise I will have to go through the same kind of, I don't want to say suffering, but in some ways it's suffering in the umbral and the consequences of your act that you may only realize when you're on the other side. But unlike traditional Christian beliefs, we do not see that a person who commits suicide, or you can't say that, the person who dies because of suicide is going to be in hell for eternity. That was the belief, right? That's how they wanted to stop suicide. Says if you kill yourself, you're going to be in hell, right, forever. But we don't believe in hell forever. We believe in our own mindset, creating this environment that is very kind of punitive until we can start preparing for the next life. So keep that in mind when you hear anything about suicide. Yes, we want to avoid the obvious suicides and so forth. But think of all the other cases as well, right? A lot of people forget that we used to die at home, just like the Queen died at home this week. That was 90% of the people who were sick used to die at home. Now it's the other way around. 90% of us will die in a hospital after, hopefully not, but days, if not weeks, of treatment in terms of going into some kind of a final stage, preparing for that. So even shortening our life for a small amount of period is also considered suicide.
All right. Any other comments? No? Nothing? All right, guys. So we're going to prepare for the Pass. I forgot if we do a prayer now. Okay, I'm going to do a prayer to finalize, and then we'll go to the Pass. Thank you, Lord, for these teachings that are meant to strengthen our faith, to strengthen our hearts, to overcome the difficulties that we face in this blessed opportunity to be reincarnated, and to live here. Thank you for this house, for this Spirit Center that brings us so many blessings and allows us to share our thoughts and our opinions. Thank you. So be it.